Imagine waking up to a home that feels strangely unfamiliar. The refrigerator is silent. The lights won't turn on. Your phone has no signal, and every attempt to check the news leads nowhere. At first, it seems like an ordinary power outage. But as the hours pass, it becomes clear this isn't a local problem. The grid has gone down across an entire region. By the end of the first day, grocery stores are overwhelmed. Fuel pumps stop working. Fresh food begins to spoil. And millions of people face a question they never expected to ask. How do you feed your family when the kitchen itself no longer works? Most people think emergency preparedness starts with buying more food, but experienced preppers understand something many people overlook. Food is only one piece of the puzzle. If you can't store it safely, cook it, or make it last, even a well-stocked pantry has limits. The most valuable survival tool in your home may not be a generator, a bunker, or an expensive piece of gear. It could be an ordinary-looking kitchen, carefully designed to keep working long after the modern world stops. In this documentary, we'll explore what makes a true survival kitchen, why most modern kitchens become surprisingly vulnerable during extended power outages, and how practical preparation today can help you stay safe, well-fed, and far more self-reliant when the grid goes down. Modern life depends on electricity in ways we rarely notice. Every day, refrigerators quietly preserve our food. Electric stoves prepare meals in minutes. Freezers protect weeks' worth of groceries. Clean water arrives with little effort. And supermarkets refill their shelves so consistently that running out of food seems almost impossible. Because everything works so smoothly, it's easy to assume it always will. But behind those everyday conveniences is an enormous network of power stations, transmission lines, fuel supplies, transportation systems, and communication networks. If enough of that system fails, even temporarily, the effects reach our kitchens almost immediately. History has shown that extended blackouts can happen for many reasons. Hurricanes, ice storms, wildfires, earthquakes, cyber attacks, and major equipment failures have all left communities without reliable electricity for days, and sometimes much longer. When that happens, preparing food quickly changes from a routine task into a daily challenge. That's why preparedness isn't about expecting the worst. It's about making sure your family can continue living safely and comfortably when the unexpected happens. Today, we're exploring the hidden survival kitchen, not a secret room hidden behind a bookshelf, not an underground bunker stocked with military rations, but a practical, organized kitchen that quietly continues doing its job, even when the power doesn't. Because when the grid fails, the ability to prepare a simple, hot meal becomes more valuable than most people ever imagine. Section 1. Why the modern kitchen fails. First, today's kitchen is one of the most advanced rooms in the average home. Ironically, it's also one of the most dependent. Nearly every major appliance relies on a continuous supply of electricity. Refrigerators keep food cold around the clock. Electric ranges provide instant heat. Microwaves, coffee makers, dishwashers, blenders, and even many water dispensers stop functioning the moment the power disappears. At first, losing electricity may seem like little more than an inconvenience, but the situation changes surprisingly fast. Every time a refrigerator door is opened during an outage, valuable cold air escapes. Within a few hours, food temperatures begin rising. Freezers can preserve food much longer, but only if they're kept closed as much as possible. For many families, that's the moment reality sets in. The shelves may still be full of ingredients, yet preparing dinner suddenly becomes difficult. A pantry full of pasta isn't very useful if you have no reliable way to boil water. A freezer packed with meat becomes a race against time. Even canned food has limitations if every meal must be eaten cold. The problem isn't a lack of food. It's a kitchen designed around a single source of energy. That's why resilient kitchens are built differently. Instead of depending on one cooking method, they provide multiple ways to prepare meals, preserve food, and adapt to changing conditions. The goal isn't luxury, it's flexibility. Because in any emergency, flexibility often becomes one of the most valuable resources you can have. And every resilient kitchen begins with the same foundation: a well-planned pantry. Section 2. The foundation. A smart pantry when. People picture emergency food storage. They often imagine shelves stacked with expensive, freeze-dried meals. Those certainly have their place, but most experienced preppers build their pantry very differently. Instead of relying on specialty survival foods, they focus on everyday ingredients that are affordable, familiar, and easy to rotate through regular cooking. Rice, beans, pasta, oats, lentils, flour, sugar, salt, cooking oil, powdered milk, canned vegetables, canned meat, tomatoes, spices. On their own, these items may seem ordinary. Together, they become the building blocks of hundreds of meals. Variety matters for another reason. During a stressful emergency, food isn't just fuel. A familiar meal can provide comfort, create routine, and help maintain morale when everything else feels uncertain. That's why seasonings deserve just as much attention as staple foods. A few simple spices can transform basic ingredients into meals people actually look forward to eating. Organization is equally important. Many preparedness experts follow a simple principle known as store what you eat and eat what you store. Instead of allowing food to sit untouched for years, supplies are regularly rotated into everyday meals while fresh. Replacements take their place. This keeps waste to a minimum and ensures your emergency pantry remains fresh without requiring constant attention. The best survival pantry isn't separate from everyday life. It's woven into it. Every grocery trip quietly strengthens it. Every family meal helps maintain it. And while food may fill the shelves, one ingredient quietly determines whether any of it can actually be used. Water. Section 3. Water. The ingredient people forget. Ask someone what they need during an emergency, and most will immediately think of food. Far fewer think about water, yet almost every meal depends on it. Rice won't cook without it. Pasta remains dry, powdered. Milk can't be mixed. Even washing dishes or maintaining basic hygiene becomes difficult when clean water is limited. A well-designed survival kitchen treats water as a resource, not an afterthought. That begins with stored drinking water. But storage alone isn't enough for a prolonged emergency. The most resilient households also prepare ways to collect additional water and, more importantly, make it safer to drink. Boiling remains one of the most reliable purification methods whenever fuel is available. Portable water filters offer another dependable option, especially when drawing water from natural sources. Chemical disinfectants provide an additional layer of flexibility when other methods aren't practical. Just as important is proper storage. Food-grade containers, protected from direct sunlight and extreme temperatures, help preserve water quality for longer periods. Without clean water, even the most carefully stocked pantry quickly loses much of its usefulness. Food can wait. Dehydration cannot. That's why experienced preppers often plan water first and meals second. Once clean water is available, the next challenge becomes obvious. How do you actually cook when every electric appliance has stopped working? Section 4. Cooking without the grid. Many people assume they'll figure out cooking after the power goes out. In reality, that's one of the worst times to start learning. Emergency cooking works best when it's already familiar. Fortunately, there isn't just one solution. Portable butane stoves are compact and easy to use for short-term emergencies. Propane camp stoves provide reliable cooking for extended outages. Rocket stoves burn small pieces of wood with impressive efficiency, making them useful when conventional fuels become scarce. Charcoal grills and wood-fired cookers offer additional options, though they should always be used outdoors because of fire and carbon monoxide risks. Every method has strengths. Every method also has limitations. That's why experienced preppers rarely depend on a single stove or fuel source. Instead, they build layers of redundancy. If propane becomes unavailable, another cooking method is ready. If weather prevents outdoor cooking with one system, another may still be practical. The goal isn't collecting more equipment. It's reducing the number of ways your plan can fail. Fuel deserves just as much planning as the stove itself. Camp stove with only one fuel canister offers little long-term security. Without fuel, even the best stove becomes little more than stored metal. A truly resilient kitchen combines reliable equipment with realistic fuel planning, creating a system that can continue producing safe, hot meals long after the electrical grid has gone silent, and cooking is only half the challenge. Keeping food from spoiling once refrigeration is gone requires an entirely different strategy. Section 5. Food preservation. After the power stops, when the electricity fails, every refrigerated item comes with an invisible countdown. Milk, fresh meat, leftovers, dairy products, and many prepared foods all have a limited window before they become unsafe to eat. Knowing what to use first can prevent both waste and unnecessary risk. In the early hours of an outage, the priority is simple. Eat the most perishable foods while they're still safe. Only then should you begin relying on the foods you've stored specifically for emergencies. This is where traditional food preservation proves its value. Long before electric refrigerators existed, families found reliable ways to keep food edible through changing seasons and difficult times. Many of those methods remain just as useful today. Dehydration removes moisture that bacteria and mold need to grow, allowing fruits, vegetables, herbs, and even some meats to last far longer while taking up less storage space. Home canning, when performed using modern, approved food safety practices, can safely preserve everything from vegetables and soups to meats and complete meals for months or even years. Fermentation offers another time-tested option. Foods such as sauerkraut and pickled vegetables not only keep longer under the right conditions, but also add welcome variety to meals that might otherwise become repetitive. Even simple storage techniques can have a surprising impact. Potatoes, onions, garlic, winter squash, and apples naturally last much longer when they're stored in cool, dry, and well-ventilated spaces away from direct sunlight. The lesson is straightforward. A resilient kitchen never relies on refrigeration alone. Instead, it combines several preservation methods so that losing electricity doesn't automatically mean losing your food. But preserving food is only part of the equation. When stress levels rise and routines disappear, organization becomes just as important as the supplies themselves. Section 6. The Hidden Kitchen Mindset. The phrase hidden survival kitchen doesn't refer to a secret room behind a false wall. It refers to something far more practical. At first glance, it looks like any other kitchen. The difference becomes obvious only when the lights go out. Imagine opening a single cabinet that contains nearly everything needed to prepare meals without electricity. A manual can opener, waterproof matches, reliable lighters, extra stove fuel, a cast iron skillet, manual kitchen tools that don't depend on batteries, flashlights with spare batteries, water purification supplies, a basic first aid kit, even printed recipe cards designed around pantry staples instead of refrigerated ingredients. Nothing is scattered. Nothing is forgotten. Everything has a purpose, and everything has a place. During an emergency, that organization saves far more than time. It reduces stress. Instead of wondering where essential tools are stored, you can focus on the situation itself. That mental clarity becomes a valuable resource when every decision matters. Many emergency responders often point out that people rarely make their best decisions while they're overwhelmed. A well-organized kitchen helps reduce that pressure. It removes unnecessary problems before they have a chance to become bigger ones. The hidden survival kitchen isn't hidden because it's secret. It's hidden because, to everyone else, it appears completely ordinary. Only the person who prepared it understands how much planning is quietly built into every shelf, every drawer, and every cabinet. Of course, planning alone isn't enough. Even the best designed system should be tested before it's ever needed. Section 7. Practice before you need it. Owning emergency equipment doesn't automatically make someone prepared. Knowing how to use it does. That's why many experienced preppers occasionally challenge themselves to spend an entire weekend living as though the power has already failed. No microwave, no electric stove, no refrigerator, just the supplies and cooking methods they've planned to depend on during a real emergency. These practice sessions often reveal problems that would otherwise remain hidden. Perhaps a stove uses more fuel than expected. Maybe a favorite recipe requires more water than anticipated, or a piece of equipment that seemed useful in theory turns out to be slow, unreliable, or difficult to operate. Finding those weaknesses during a practice run is far better than discovering them during a real crisis. Families benefit from these exercises as well. Children become familiar with emergency routines. Adults gain confidence using manual tools they've rarely touched before. Simple tasks become second nature. Confidence replaces uncertainty. Preparedness isn't measured by the amount of gear sitting on a shelf. It's measured by how calmly and effectively you can use it when circumstances demand it. Experience has a way of exposing small problems before they become large ones, and history repeatedly reminds us why those lessons matter. Section 8. Lessons from real emergencies. Every major disaster is different, yet they often reveal the same weaknesses. Whether it's a hurricane along the coast, a powerful ice storm, a fast-moving wildfire, or a widespread blackout, the first challenges usually look remarkably similar. Electricity disappears. Refrigeration stops. Fuel becomes harder to find. Road closures interrupt deliveries. Within hours, grocery stores begin emptying as people rush to buy the essentials. For those who waited until the emergency began, options become increasingly limited. For those who prepared beforehand, the experience is often very different. They already know what they're going to cook. They already have clean water available. Their supplies are organized. Their cooking methods have been tested. Instead of standing in long lines or searching empty shelves, they can focus on protecting their families, checking on neighbors, and adapting to whatever comes next. Preparedness doesn't eliminate hardship, it doesn't guarantee comfort, and it certainly doesn't prevent disasters from happening. What it does provide is time. Time to think clearly. Time to make better decisions. Time to respond instead of simply reacting. Sometimes, that's one of the greatest advantages anyone can have during an emergency. And that's exactly what a hidden survival kitchen is designed to create. A survival kitchen isn't built overnight, and it doesn't require expensive equipment or an underground bunker. It grows one practical decision at a time. A few extra pantry staples, a dependable water supply, a second way to cook. Better organization. Regular practice. Individually, these improvements may seem small. Together, they create a kitchen that continues working long after modern conveniences have stopped. The goal has never been to prepare for every possible disaster. That's impossible. The goal is to become a little less dependent on systems you can't control and a little more confident in your ability to care for the people who depend on you. If the grid never fails, those preparations still have value. Your pantry stays organized. Food waste is reduced. Everyday cooking becomes more efficient. But if the unexpected does happen, those same preparations could make one of the most difficult moments in your life far more manageable. When people look back after an emergency, they rarely regret being too prepared. Far more often, they wish they had started sooner. Because when the lights go out and uncertainty settles in, an ordinary-looking kitchen may quietly become the room that keeps a family safe, nourished, and together. If you enjoyed this documentary, consider subscribing for more practical, evidence-based preparedness and survival content. Because the best time to prepare isn't during an emergency. It's while everything is still working.